There's a saying that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now this, in my opinion, is one of the most misleading myths that hinder people in their quest for better health. A tall glass of lemon water and 10 minutes of meditation on your day is probably the best breakfast you can have upon rising. When you get up in the rising, the body is in a primed mode. It's functioning at a high hormonal rate and fluids are moving optimally. All these things speed up as the body heats up, including fat breakdown. To electrify the body with lemon and allow it time to utilize the hormonal high primes metabolism and the endocrine system. There's no interference from digestion from a high carb meal or potentially toxic meal and dealing with trying to clear out the waste matter from that. One very important thing you need to know also is you need to allow your body to clear out high sugar levels you may have in the rising, or what people call in the morning. Why would you have high sugar levels in the morning when you haven't eaten in what, presumably 8 hours? Listen carefully, fam. If your body is used to running on glucose and at about 3 a.m. when you sleep it needs more energy, what do you think it's going to do? It's going to reach into your liver and put out the sugars stored as glucose. This puts sugar right back into your bloodstream. Now, when you wake up with sugar in your blood, you chow down on, a nice pancake and sausage breakfast with more sugar, and there you have it. The recipe for diabetes and other destructive ailments. I want you to look up what's called the dawn phenomenon and also the Somogyi effect. SOMOGYI. The Somogyi effect. Now, even though they relate the Somogyi effect to people with diabetes, take in consideration that diabetes is formally determined by doctors, but the condition has been existing far before diagnosis, meaning those of us considered pre-diabetic or close to it would qualify for being affected by the Somogyi effect, in my opinion. Also, when you eat within an hour after you wake up, if you're on the traditional high carb, low protein intake, you kind of supercharge your body with what is like a high octane fuel to power you through the next 3 or 4 hours. But then you experience a drastic crash shortly thereafter. This is why lunch is, of course, very popular and gauged around the time people usually have this afternoon slump, which is at the 11:30 to 12 o'clock window. The fuel that you feed your body is depleted by that time, and there's nothing for the body to rely on, so it starts to rebel against any other task you may be involved in to make you feed. What people don't know is if you hold off from breakfast for 3 to 4 hours after you wake, the body actually starts to optimize the endocrine system. Blood sugar stops or hinders the body from optimizing these functions. And there's little in the way of the traditional diet that does not raise blood sugar. When you eat early in the rising, you may also be active at that time or soon thereafter. And heavy activity impedes digestion. With heavy activity, a lot of food does not get broken down in the body, but actually gets passed through the body as foreign matter, causing things like uric acid buildup and inflammation. This is found to happen in people who have developed a pattern of eating early and being active right after or during eating, because we don't appreciate the need to eat lighter when we're going to be active. Everybody knows since you were young, you were always told don't eat big meals right before swimming or sports events. Yet we eat big right before braving stressful traffic to a job in a 10-story office building where once we get there, stressed to the max, we have to do a stair marathon to get to one cubicle, or before we climb a roof to clean windows or do plumbing. Most jobs are very physical, and the connection of laborious jobs and gout, high blood pressure, brain fog, and chronic bowel issues is no coincidence. Okay, the link between these types of jobs and these ailments, that's no coincidence. We know that blood flow and hormone production are focused to the digestive process after a meal, so it would stand to reason that we would want to allow this process its proper time and quality to run its course before we become active and stress the resources of the body thin. If you have to eat early, eat as light as you can, preferably something that will flush the body of waste matter that has not cleared from the previous day, or something that will also put trace minerals in the body before demanding the digestion of a large amount of fat, carbs, and sugar. Something like spinach is excellent for this. Also, bok choy, celery, asparagus as well, and chard and red cabbage. The other best option is a shake 2 to 3 hours after rising. Now there are several Weight Watcher programs that implement this strategy, and those of us privy to how the body works, we know what this strategy entails. We know why they do this. Shakes need very little in the way of digestion, and most of that depends on the amount and type of protein in the shake. For example, whey protein will digest fast, usually within an hour, whereas milk protein will take twice the time generally. But the process is still much less demanding on the body than solid foods. And shakes in general do not create toxic byproducts that cause many of the health issues the traditional solid food intake causes. If you can wait until at least noon before you eat a solid meal, that would be best. Your body is now primed to receive much of what you eat, as opposed to shortly thereafter when you wake up, when the blood is not at maximum fasted levels upon rising. Therefore, not as much of what you eat is absorbed. There's still sugar in the blood. Breakfast has been touted as the most important meal of the day, but the real important meal of the day is the last meal you eat before you sleep. Now, why is this? Because that is the meal you grow on. That is the meal from which most of your body will use to formulate its cellular structure on. So this is the meal which should have the most nutrient-dense, protein-rich macro and micronutrients of the day. Now this doesn't mean it has to be heavy, but it has to be dense. For example, I usually use 2 to 3 protein sources for my last meal of the day via hemp seeds or my veggies, a small amount of sunflower seeds or almond butter with collagen protein. Now these are my 3 protein sources, and I may have either asparagus with spinach as one of my veggies, or I may use celery or a veggie powder mix. Okay, I have a green powder mix that I use as well, just to get some extra minerals in. That's in case I'm too tired to prep multiple veggie sources for that last meal of the day. I never eat carbs with my last meal of the day. Okay, this way I get a slow release of high mineral content and plenty of plant-based proteins for my body to build itself during my sleep time. Now this all seems simple in concept, but once you try it, you'll see that it's a little harder to follow, and even harder to follow consistently in conjunction with a good regimen throughout the day. But as always, with a little study and personal investment, that can go a long way in building your health and body to optimal levels. Peace. If you learned from this video, help support the study and time to bring this knowledge to our community. It does take time and effort to be concise and as accurate as possible so that we can stay abreast of important health information and techniques. Please visit the site and follow these links.